Hi, I'm Megan Lindholm. I'm a former Assistant Chief Flight Instructor from Preflight, now at the Regional Airlines as a First Officer. And I'm here today with Bob.
Hi, I'm Bob Choate. I'm the Director of the Thrust Flight Instructor Academy. And I thought we'd shake things up a little bit today. For example, we'd like to talk to you about how to deal with turbulence as a newly minted pilot. We have some thoughts on that we'd like to share.
I think the basics are just kind of understanding what turbulence is. A lot of students or pilots, private pilots, might be a little unsure of turbulence. Maybe they're not sure where it comes from. Hopefully by the private pilot level you have a little bit of understanding, maybe a little bit of experience with it. But the most basic reason is for heat rising. The way the Earth deflects the heat from the sun can cause different pockets of turbulence. Could be just the way the wind patterns are aloft. Maybe there's a temperature inversion. Could also be some wake turbulence from a bigger airplane, or just the terrain itself. Maybe there's some hills, or maybe there's mountains even. But that's just kind of a basic understanding is kind of where it all begins.
And it also begins with you doing your pre-flight. So if you know what to expect when you fly, then that can go a long way to help you mitigate the effects of turbulence. There's great sources of information for turbulence. Pilot reports, the most current information readily available on a variety of electronic devices, as well as the aviation weather, as well as the NOAA weather. Both have reports on turbulence that include altitude and severity. If you know what to expect, then you can plan accordingly. Well, for example, if you're a private pilot doing a cross country and there's severe turbulence and you can't find an altitude that would mitigate that, we probably wouldn't fly that day. I think it would be a wise decision. But at the same time, we do want you to experience turbulence. So we're asking flight instructors to make sure that, if at all possible, that you fly with your student where there is turbulence so they can see how they would deal with it. They can experience it and they can start that process of acclimation. And actually, in thinking about that, we had 4 items that we'd like to recommend to you in thinking about turbulence.
So first thing would be to reduce your airspeed if you're above VA. We like to call this maneuvering speed, but also turbulence penetration speed. Typically, the slower you go to an extent, the smoother the ride will be. If you go faster, it'll be like a little bit more jolty, a little bit more bumpy feeling. So just kind of, first of all, reduce that airspeed. Second, just kind of accept the deviations in maybe your altitude a little bit or airspeed, and just try to maintain a level attitude and don't fight the airplane. You're going to get really tired trying to fight it, but the most important thing is just kind of accept little variations and don't try to fight the airplane.
Sure, and as you fly along, let's say you find yourself near a thunderstorm. Well, first of all, your pre-flight planning, you should have known that, but like, for example, here in the Southwest, we get pop-up thunderstorms in the afternoons frequently, and you might find yourself into some turbulence associated with a thunderstorm. You may be miles away from it. Remember, all your pilot exams have had that, how far should I stay away from a thunderstorm, and it's at least 20 nautical miles? Well, it may be more than that. So if you experience any kind of turbulence associated with a thunderstorm, make sure you head in the opposite direction and get out of the area of turbulence and move yourself forward like that. The other thing you can do is, remember, I'm flying along, I've hit turbulence. Well, let me investigate to see if there's an opportunity to change altitude that would reduce the severity of the turbulence. I have my sources, certainly have a lot of electronic opportunities in the airplane on my iPad or my iPhone, as well as my friend at ATC is always a phone call away. I can look up that frequency, contact ATC, and request a different altitude or investigate to which altitude may have less turbulence. So flying turbulence is normal. You're not going to get away from it, and as a pilot you will acclimate. And here's some other thoughts we'd like to leave you with.
So like we said, just learn the airspeed of the airplane for safe turbulence penetration. Try to find a way out of it if it is really severe. If it's not very severe, just kind of accept the deviations. Maybe they're small deviations. Maybe try to find a higher altitude above the clouds, above the haze layer, away from the thunderstorm. Get used to it too. Maybe if you're not comfortable with it right now, go up with the CFI. Maybe you have a friend with a CFI, or there's a local flight school you can fly with the CFI just to kind of get some more experience, because if you don't learn to fly in turbulence, you'll never fly.
I mean, virtually, I would say 50% of the flights that I've taken over the last 50 years have involved some level of turbulence, whether it's light turbulence from updrafts or downdrafts, or chop under a macro clouded sky, or even moderate turbulence ahead of a cold front moving forward. It's just going to be part of your flying. And as you progress in your aviation career and maybe go on to become a certified flight instructor, I'd ask you to make sure that you fly with your students in turbulence and help them acclimate and get used to it earlier in their training.
Well, that wraps up today's video of how to deal with turbulence as a new pilot. If you do have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.